Yeah, it doesn't matter. I think at the end, if you make a film with your kind of your heart and with your friends, and it's kind of if it's meaningful, people will find out, will find it, and if it's a shit, it will be deleted, and at the end, everything will be deleted and forgotten like in 100 years. So who cares? I mean, if it's like 100 people or just one that is really, really interested, so who cares? I mean, we are not making tons of money, so I mean, I think what you did is what everybody, kind of every filmmaker dreams. That people watch your film and they comment. So I don't care if it's 3 people than 150. So I'm not really concerned about if it gets like super big. Maybe the only thing is that, okay, if it gets big, you have the chance to make another. You don't have to suffer to make the next one. But
it's funny because you say that, because that's so much the conversation about this channel. It's like this much larger YouTube channels covering Indian cult horror, but the truth is, I always said, like, I want the right people. I don't want the numbers. And we have a community that's very, very involved, and they care. And I've always been happier with that. So it's funny that you say that, because I feel exactly the same way.
I think that's the beauty of it, no? That create art, and through art and through inspiration, get in touch with others and make new friends, right? Not the number of tickets sold, which I don't really give a shit.
Right.
That you are able to create conversations and inspire others, or others inspire you, and that's community. And so I in my life been always in kind of in the punk scene, playing with my band and doing gigs for, I don't know, 50 people. So and we were very happy always. It was not a problem. Okay, when only 10 people show up, maybe it was like, fuck man, only 10 people. But if it was more than 50, it was okay. It was like, our friends are here. So it's quite good. We don't need anything else.
So I know we haven't all met, so let's do this properly. Of course, I'm Lauren. The show originated with me based on me wanting to sell my books, which is completely mercenary. But I've tried to make sure that the balance is there, whereas like people are getting something out of it, and it's not me just always kind of plying, right? This is Sam. She's been the co-host for over a year now, and she brings all the talent.
I just bring the crazy, frenetic anxiety energy. So, but you know that.
And I got to tell you, too, as having grown up punk rock as well and been to a lot of those basement shows you're talking about, I do think there's a connection between like the street level art world and punk rock. I just do.
I think so. Because every time that I find there is a kind of an intuitive connection that was created probably in our teenager years, and sleeping on floors, like touring in the most kind of insane and dirty places, and that produce we identify each other very easily. I think that suddenly it happens to me. I go to a festival or whatever, and the freak that stays in the Q&A and talks with me at the end, we come back to music, and it was like, oh, I had this punk band, and it's fuck, that's kind of an intuitive connection or something that is always there.
What did you play?
I play drums.
Nice.
Yeah, I play drums with my friend Jose. Now I moved here to Estonia 5 years ago, but I used to play for many years with my great friend Jose. He still is playing in Madrid, and now I cannot play with him so often. It's a pity, but yeah, I am a little bit out now. But yeah, what can I do?
I play guitar badly, if it means anything, but
Mhm.
but not enough to perform for anyone. That's for sure.
Well, there is always somebody there. Friends, good friends.
So I feel like we've already really started. So I'm just going to cut this all in properly. So let's just go. Because this is not a live show. We are recording simply because of the time difference. Sometimes there's a lag and we're not experiencing it, but I didn't want to take that chance. But I do recommend afterwards take a look at the show because you'll be able to see all the comments and all that underneath, and hopefully we get this film a little bit more love because
Yes.
I love Jesus Shows You the Way of the Highway. I think it's an amazing piece of, I don't know, kinetic art. Almost, it's almost like something that you don't believe really will exist. And 5 minutes in, you go, okay, they're going to eventually get more. They're going to have a more normal narrative at some point. But I
No.
love the fact that you abstracted the whole concept of narrative, and that's amazing to me because we don't get that. We get Transformers movies. We don't get this.
Well, yeah, we try to this time to get certain bone behind a very simple story. A guy that gets lost into the system that is kind of the management system of the city, and then he has to come back home. And it's a little bit like every Odyssey, right? Like the Ulysses, and fighting with different elements that kind of shake him in different, like the gods shake Ulysses, in this case, viruses, superheroes. And so we try to keep it simple in that sense. He has to come back home. But there were so many kind of branches.
Few.
Lost in the branches, we were jumping, we were kind of climbing the main trunk, and we got lost in the branches. But
So how did you work out the visual language of this film before you made it? Because there's so many different visual styles throughout the film.
yeah, at the beginning we wanted to make a kind of a live stop motion pixelation film, right? Like to create. I practiced with my brother in another film called Night in the Wild Garden that I think is in the Arrow Blu-ray. It's a previous short film, and we kind of distort time instead of filming with a video camera, filming frame by frame, like you film animation, right? Like so my brother was kind of moving like this, and then the next frame, and then the next frame, so it builds kind of another world. And we wanted to make a film like that, but after, I don't know, I would say like 10 days of shooting, we had like 2 minutes of footage. It's like, Jesus, we are gonna be making this film for 150 years. So then we start kind of, so maybe that can be this pixelation or stop motion can work for a reality within the system, no? And then using other techniques like 60 millimeters in a square format for another reality, and start playing a little bit with the aspect ratio and the quality of the image using different cameras to create the different realities. So it was based on an experiment at the beginning, and then that kind of start make sense in our heads to write the screenplay, because we didn't shoot the whole film like in a row. I mean, at once, but we did, what we did was to film in different stages. I think we had 5 or 6 filming periods. So we were filming, then coming back to the screenplay, then filming again, then getting some funding, then going back to filming. So I think that's why the film is a monstrosity. Because it's like, like if you have a box and you tape it, and then you come back and tape it again, and you keep taping it for 2 years. So
So using your stable of actors that you've been working with pretty much your whole
Mm.
career must have helped that process, because otherwise you'd be like continually asking people to come back and scheduling problems.
Yeah.
How did you build that? How'd you build that roster of actors?
I work. One is my brother. So he's like 6 years younger than me, and he has been always. We have been always doing projects that were not going anywhere, but for more than 20 years. He was also in a punk scene. He was playing drums, also in a band, like imitating his brother, like, and so he always wanted to be an actor, and he is right now. But so we started. So, and the other is a good friend of him, and now friend of mine. So. And then also my DP, I've been working with him, with the director of photography, for over 20 years. The same, we start in Madrid, and we moved to Ethiopia because we were living in Ethiopia for a long time. And I worked there, and then I got a job for him, and he came to live there in Ethiopia. So I think our filmmaking is based on friendship, and that's the key that people dismiss. I don't have a budget. People says I cannot shoot my film, but we never had very big budgets because we rely on love and friendship, so we can really. And when the people see that power, I guess, or that enthusiasm, then they want to belong, and they want to also be part of it. So we kind of include more and more people. So it's kind of a snowball that from our short films gets bigger, going down the slope, incorporating new snow, like towards our new works.
So how did you meet Daniel? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his last name. Is it Tadase?
Yes, Tadase, yes.
Okay. How did you meet him? Because I thought he's perfect as far as being the protagonist in this hero's journey, both in Jesus Shows You the Way and also in Krabs too.
Yes, but actually I met him in Ethiopia. I was living there, and a friend of mine was doing Ethiopian films, and actually he became my line producer, my production manager, Johannes Feleke. And he sent me one of his films, and I saw this guy that was so sympathetic for me, like, because he was not the epic hero, more like the tragic hero. I'm more I always, as a Spanish and Mediterranean person, we are more connected to tragic comedies than to maybe epic tales, of heroes, like maybe more in America. No, people is really connected to this hero culture, but we are more connected to this failure culture, like somebody that tries to make it but never make it. Also in America there are a lot of very good stories of losers. So he seemed to me like very much like this kind of person that has a very good heart, that he tries, fails, and is tragicomic, but at the same time very empathic and very intelligent and very keen to do stuff. And I met him he was performing at the National Theater of Ethiopia in a big theater play about Lorca, the Spanish writer, the Spanish surrealist writer. And it was, and they make Lorca's play even more surreal because he was with Ethiopian actors there on the National Theater of Ethiopia, and the guy was kind of it was Blood Weddings, and he was playing the husband, it was kind of surreal. And I said, like, I need to meet this guy, and we become friends, and we start making the short films. And we made the short films with him and Johannes, well, his producer. So yes, by chance, that's interest, you find somebody like that and you want to meet him, obviously. It's like,
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's perfect. He's perfect in both Krabs and Jesus Shows You the Way. I haven't seen any of your other short films or anything like that yet, but just
in a previous film he plays Hitler. Well, not Hitler, but a clone of Hitler. It's a film called Chigerale, Here Comes the Problem. So
okay. Yeah, I did see that listed on your IMDb. I didn't get a chance to check that out either, but that sounds awesome.
Yeah, he goes to. I mean, it's kind of a clone of Hitler, so he doesn't know that Hitler is a very bad character of the history of the world, evil, no, and
Yeah.
so he performs. He goes to bars dressed as Hitler, and everybody laughs at him. He gets bullied, and obviously for a good reason. But he's like, why people? So he wants to revenge. And he wants to take a revenge against humanity because nobody understands him.
Oh.
You see, right there, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I want film to take me places I've never been before. I don't want comfort food. I don't want another Marvel film because I've seen a Marvel film, right? But like what you just described for a short film, which I'm not going to say it's throwaway, but I'm saying you probably spent a lot less time on that film than you did on either Krabs or Jesus. So you set up a situation where you're playing with people's emotions. How can you be sympathetic but yet see it from both points of view? And how do you kind of how do you get your head around that as a viewer? Like, there's so much, and obviously you have a sense of whimsy to what you do, and that kind of healthy anarchy that comes from your punk rock background. That takes me to a place I've not been before. That's what film should do.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if we play sometimes with very hard feelings and very controversial stuff, like in the case of Hitler, it's obviously a controversial figure, and I mean, obviously, I have to say sometimes in the festival that I really hate Hitler. And really hate. I mean, I am an anarchist, so I really hate Hitler and hate all the powers of the world. I hate power, basically, and so, but I find, opposite to that, to the social criticism or to the criticism, I find that the most interesting things are persons, as they are. So I think besides our ideology and our big kind of ideas of the world, we are all persons. So I always try to focus on the person and the singularity of the person. And I try always to find people, non-actors or actors, that are somehow empathic or sympathetic, and they have a kind of a good heart, a good aura behind. And even if they play the bad guy, you feel that they are still, like somehow humans and somehow sympathetic. I have the same feeling when, I don't know if you are familiar with Sean Baker, but I like very much the films by Sean Baker. He made this Tangerine, Red Rocket, Florida Project. Florida Project is kind of an American indie director, but he's not in the genre. But I find his characters sometimes they are bad, but they are not so bad. They are not so evil. They always have this heart, and I think that's very, very important for me, because we are somehow, even the strongest characters or historical characters, they are at the end impotent. They are gonna die, and they are crushed by the destiny. So even Vladimir Putin and all these people like that, they will be, well, if they don't press the button, they will, they die. It's a little bit pathetic. So we are weak, and we are small. So
I think it is about human stories ultimately. I mean, because that's how we're connecting, right, as a viewer. So, and that's again the Marvel / Transformers / big budget tentpole Disney Pixar thing. It's like you need to feel human hands on a project in order to really relate to it. I feel. I mean, maybe there's other people who love artificiality that much, but for me, I often in the community I'll talk about the fact that I don't love everything that else other people love, and that's the beauty of it, right? Because if we all love the same thing, we would not be different people.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. I think, yes, sometimes people, if you are a very conservative person, you would like to see the whole, the cliche or the same story. And there is nothing bad about that. I think people feel safe sometimes going to see a Marvel and going to see that, I don't know, that Spider-Man gets friends with other Spider-Man, and they are free. And I mean, I watch it, and I find that it was the message. I mean, they were friends and they were fighting together against evil, and there is nothing that you can criticize about this because it's human and beautiful. No, but it gets a little bit short, or you've seen it many times, and it doesn't reconfort. Maybe you learn, for you it's like, well, seen it many times, it's empty, it's artificial, and for other people it reconforts, or it comforts that security, but I am more an adventurer, and probably you are, because you're watching this kind of films, so you want to uh, uh, take yourself or your spirit to more I mean, experience a little bit different sensations and different inspirations, and get out of your comfort zone and learn something maybe deeper.
Yeah. The easy way to say that, I guess, is I'm an Alien 3 guy. I'm not an Aliens guy.
It's fine. We forgive
Very
you.
true. A lot of people have had to forgive me, so that's good. So, I didn't want to spend the whole time just talking about Jesus to show you the way of the highway, but we do got to spend some time on that. But I want to first just talk about Krabs a little bit. So
I'm excited. I just saw that, watched it yesterday.
Yeah, Sam and I just both watched it very separately, but it was both on our checklist before this conversation. Very different, but you want to know what? It's probably the most abstract but beautiful Christmas story ever told. And again, how did this not get notice? I don't understand.
I don't know. I mean, I think it got noticed, but again, it's like notice in a small community. I think I felt very beloved by people from, people that were interested in Afrofuturism, and even it got into the Criterion channel. Because there was a program called on Afrofuturism that they organize, and they include the film there. So I guess some people watch it there in the Criterion, and then now it's in the Arrow edition Blu-ray package, and well, slowly it gets there. But maybe because we always did it from a very, underground perspective, and it went to festivals, but we are not really connected to the industry, so I don't know, we did it and that's it, and people will discover, it will be forgotten, doesn't matter.
So
it does matter. It does. We need the good. People need a little bit of nutrition in their diet of entertainment, and so I just feel like we have to do what we can to help these films get a wider audience, because the wider audience does exist. I know people think it doesn't, but it does. People are tired of the same old, and something like Krabs is the antidote,
Yeah, Krabs is a little bit slower than Jesus. It's more contemplative, because basically we had a very short budget, and we basically the film was created. We have a very incredible landscapes in the landscapes of Ethiopia that were for free because we were living there, and we had Daniel Tadesse, and we had a very short budget. So what kind of film can we do with that? And we write the screenplay with that three things in mind, and it came an post-apocalyptic film, because it was the best way to play a little bit with this kind of people that is totally disoriented in this kind of landscapes that also give you the sense of loss, disorientation, and also because back in time we were a little bit disoriented. We didn't know what we're gonna do with our lives, if we can live as a filmmaker or not, and what is the future gonna be. And so that sense of disorientation, of uncertainty, we try to condense it or how you call it, to put it in Krabs. like where it's in a post-apocalyptic world where everybody's lost, totally lost, and they have to create the meaning of the things because the things have for the meaning is forgotten of the objects the main characters find, like Ninja Turtles or the album of Michael Jackson or whatever. They find objects of the pop culture, and they have to give a new meaning because the old meaning is totally forgotten. So I think it's a film where we as a filmmakers have to build the meaning of life. What do we want to do in the future? Do we want to make films? And the film itself try to also find the meaning, like what is the meaning of life? Where are we going as a human? So, and everybody, the main character pictures a meaning of who he is. That obviously is a wrong meaning because as we do, we project who we are. Miguel is a filmmaker, and then a year later we say like, fuck, I was totally wrong. I'm not a filmmaker. I'm a teacher.
So I mean, there's definitely like a Don Quixote aspect to Crumbs that kind of plays against what's the core concept of Jesus shows you the way, the highway. But it's interesting because I just also revisited Ken Russell's Altered States for the first time in many years. And it kind of comes to the same conclusion as both films of your films do. That again, these are characters looking for the meaning of life broadly, and they've both discovered that life is what you make it, and it's the experience of life that matters. So I found that kind of fascinating that like the great experimenters in cinema, and I don't mean the high art experimenters. I do mean like the people working on the streets. Kind of are all kind of like circling these themes.
Total, I think, yeah. You were mentioning Altered States, and it came immediately into my mind also The Fly by Cronenberg. Somehow, people that have kind of a mission, and the mission, what they believe things should be, and the mission, like a Don Quixote, you say, and the mission failed because, life is different than what you really choose to be. You say, which is totally different again than in most of the American films, where the hero has to accomplish what he or she has in her mind. She has to kill the monster, and and there is the plan arrives into, it doesn't change. The plan is like, you feel relief when the monster dies, and it's like, but in these films, maybe The Fly, Altered States, things get wrong because you and it's not because the monster is more powerful, but because you were fundamentally wrong in your projection of what the things should be, and that's very interesting. Yeah.
And we do see Candy fail throughout Crumbs, holding on to these rather impermanent objects from before the apocalypse, like the amulet, the Ninja Turtle keychain, and then also the sword. I mean, he loses both of those, and then Birdie is seen being extremely frustrated with the situation in general and tearing down the shrine to Michael Jordan, But again, it's like all of these things were from that pre-apocalyptic era, and you can see him kind of hold on to, say, the small baby Jesus, from, I'm guessing, a nativity scene. But you can see him hold on to that in parts of the movie and kind of like trying to grasp that to get through these obstacles that he's supposed to go through. But he, again, those are also things that become lost. And it kind of made me question my own existence watching this movie, because I'm like, yeah, all of these very these pop culture symbols that we have now that are just trademarks of our rather secular lifestyles, like, where do these things go? And seeing them redefined that far in the future, like, what kind of meanings do they have now? And it feels like it doesn't feel like anything solid for me. And I'm kind of like, oh, I need to make meaning in my life quick. I'm going to unravel. So thank you. I appreciate it. I love having an existential crisis during a movie, because it means I'm thinking.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's. I mean, I didn't want to do provoke an existential crisis, but yes, people hold to objects. I mean, really, if somebody loses the Ferrari, some people can kill for a Ferrari, you know. But even some people can kill for most, you know, for meaningless, for things that are not even a Ferrari, you know, but the things that are, you know, we give very strong meanings to the an emotional meaning to objects and things that surround us, and that things make our house, you know. And when there is this idea, again, very much portrayed in the American culture, even in straw dogs, or, you know, of the protection of the house. What we are protecting is not just a collection of books that you can buy again, but it's kind of your own identity that is projected towards that walls and that objects, you know. And we even can kill to protect that meaningful objects. Besides that, maybe your grandma is in the house as well. but yeah.
I think that's kind of like the importance, though, right? Because American cinema used to have McGuffins, like in Indiana Jones, right? So in Raiders of the Lost Ark, you got what the Ark of the Covenant was, the MacGuffin, but it was the journey of the character that mattered, and that was kind of explicit. A lot of what we have coming out right now in American entertainment, anyway, the big popular stuff, the MacGuffin is a MacGuffin in and of itself, and it doesn't actually inform the story. It's just, we got to get this thing, and that's how you get bad Tomb Raider movies, right? It's a quest to get a thing, but the thing doesn't actually mean anything. And you can see maybe watching those films that at some version of the screenplay, the writer was doing the work, and then the corporate side got involved and it got lost. But in both of the works that we are familiar with of yours, it seems like you understand that internalization way better, and you're still interested in telling those type of stories that are about, again, people, like you said, but really about people searching for meaning. And God damn it, we need that. We need that so badly right now. The whole world feels like it's falling apart, and we just need to answer a goddamn question, right?
Mhm.
I guess so, and I think the people is looking for meaning more right now in sects and Facebook groups than in the movies, because probably the movies don't have the answer anymore, or the question, and the answer unfortunately comes. And I'm thinking about, you know, many cults that are coming back through Facebook groups and conspiracy theories and everything that gives you kind of an easy solution sometimes to problems that need a lot of questioning and knowledge, you know. And since the world is so big and so many things are happening, you need to give an answer very, very fast instead of looking for the meaning slowly, and you know, and you know, looking for it, research from it. You can say meaning, but it's the truth. I mean, the truth sounds like so the truth, no? But you know, a small truth or whatever. Search for the for the wisdom, no, for the meaning of the stuff, no. And I think people don't see it anymore in the film, so that's why they prefer to go to the Facebook groups with very absurd theories that beat, you know, this is Pizzagate beat sorry, but it beats any Hollywood
Yes.
like a plot, you know. It's like so mind-blowing. The problem is that people take it for granted that this is happening, no? But or that, or there are many, you know. But you go to see Marvel, say, okay, but yeah, that's comforting me. But for the ones who are not comforted with that, or they go and see this Pizza Gate or whatever, and it's like, that's fucking mind blowing, you know. This is like, must be more truth than Marvel, because so yeah, search for meaning has been always very, very hard, and you have to be very honest to abandon your preconceptions and to fail in that search, and this is a little bit what happens in, I think, in Krabs, that he tries to give a meaning to his life, to who he is, where he comes from, and at the end we discover, I don't want to be a spoiler, no, but we discover that what he thought he was, it's not. he's not, and I think we are doing this exercise every day. We believe that we are brave, we believe that we are from Spain, and then that and the life is kind of killing our ideas and distracting our ideas every day. And that's what I call the tragic sense of life, because life goes far beyond your ideas. And if you keep very strong into your ideas, you become a fascist, because life is telling you like, no, look, you are wrong, but you cannot see you are wrong. No, what I'm saying is right, and you will distort reality and distort it, and in the reality kind of fits your idea, And I think the process of my filmmaking is the opposite. It's like in the character is the beliefs, or what the character believes, is always being destroyed and destroyed and destroyed by the circumstance.
And I think that's really healthy in the end for the ego. Just keep tearing it down. Eventually you'll get there. I wanted to ask you about the Mulligan warriors in Krabs. What is Mulligan? Where does that originate? Because I've only seen one definition, and it's like totality or completeness, and I can't find a real good source on it.
To tell you the truth, this is the typical jokes that I do with my brother, that we start to say words like randomly, and some of them, they sound very good, and we take them. And it's a practice that we do since we are kids. And that is like, we call each other every time that we call on the phone. We create like, hey, how are you doing, McGuffin? How are you doing, Pilopo? And we just call the other like the first word that it comes into our heads. And so I think it came this Mulligan, and it sounds so absurd. So it doesn't have a meaning at all.
I got totally worked by that. I love it.
Some of the things in the films have a very, I would say our films are very absurd, but some of the things have a very deep meaning, because I study philosophy and I like to read and reflect, but others are totally random. And they come from.
So that's actually kind of, I was having a conversation recently with a member of the community, and we were talking about Kubrick, and we were talking about The Shining and a little bit of 2001, and how those films are not really hard to decipher about what they're really saying, but there's so much garbage symbolism placed on top of the meaningful stuff to make the film interesting and to misdirect. And again, I love the absurdism of Jesus Shows You the Way, the Highway, and Krabs. But what I really love is that absurdism is absurdism with a purpose. So it's the way that a David Lynch or a David Cronenberg would use an absurd concept. Obviously, with Cronenberg, he's going to take your face off at the same time, whereas Lynch is just going to leave you on the floor like bubbling in your own drool. But I love the fact that you using a technique to take absurd contexts and then put them in a film, give them meaning, imbue them with meaning because your characters imbue them with meaning, and actually kind of create something from an abstracted narrative that we can't get any other way. I mean, you could put it in a novel, I guess, but it's a visual medium, right? You're not going to get it from a song, and you're certainly not going to get it from a news broadcast. So that's why I think this is so important. I mean, you might think it's overblown for me to say that the films are important, but I think they are important because I think we need more people working in the margins that are willing to write outside the line and color in the wrong blocks. And as long as you do it with meaning, I think it is meaningful.
Thank you. I think, yes, when I do the films, I try to say the most important thing of the world. Sounds pretentious, but then I will get so overwhelmed by that I have to say the most important things of the world. I have to hide it behind jokes, because obviously you cannot say the most important things of the world and take yourself serious. So I kind of say the most important thing of the world, but I try to cancel myself or my ego with a series of jokes. So that kind of the counterpoint, and say like, okay, maybe that's not so important. So it's kind of an action reaction. You have to say something very important, but at the same time say like, well, my skeptical kind of super ego, whatever comes to say that no, I mean you have to just relax. That's bullshit, and then you kill it. And yeah, but I think the film have to. Sometimes we are very worried about the symbolism, David Lynch, or you mentioned 2001, and sometimes that symbolism comes from an intuition, and sometimes from an inspiration. Films sometimes that don't have to need the verbal meaning, the verb. I mean the word meaning, but they are sometimes informed by a. You watch a film and then you want to go home and make your own film, and you don't know why, but that kind of inspiration that maybe you didn't understand anything, or maybe there was a sound and music, I don't know, but something moved you not in a very conscious level, but more in an artistic way or whatever. And I think we shouldn't reduce everything just to explanatory meaning, but there are different layers that I think make the great filmmakers. The ones you mentioned are obviously very big. I admire them very much. They are genius for me, and because they have the different layers, not just the layer of the speech, but the layer of the composition, the layer of the rhythm, of the power. No, otherwise it's not the same experience to attend a black metal concert than somebody explaining you the metal concert. And if somebody explains you the metal concert, well, yeah, that's good. No, but go and see it. And why is not the same experience? Because there is no translation. So sometimes we try to translate the films into the world of words, but it's impossible, because a film is a film. It has sound. It moves you, and yeah, I think we have to kill sometimes the overthinking. It produce nice content, no, though, but this is, you just go and watch the film.
And I mean, trying to explain Jesus shows you the way to the highway to somebody, we've tried. I mean, my first viewing, same with Krabs actually, is my husband works across the hall from me. We're both working from home. So it's like every 5 seconds I'm running in to tell him there are 6 Justin Biebers in this universe, or something like that. And yeah, but at the same time, the story resonates with you. Just, beyond the things that are happening in that movie, you can feel what the themes and the story, what's going on deeper, if that makes sense.
Again, thank you. I really, well, what can I say? It's really nice that that is the same feeling. Try to, that there is these different layers, no? That there is certain sympathy in our films, because also we did it among friends, and empathy, and this tragedy of that kind of tragic heroes, no, like weak persons, and maybe that like touches you a certain level, and that this collection of jokes and spontaneity that I don't create with, I have to create in a more kind of through an ecstasy. No, I don't take any drug, but maybe joking with my friends. I don't like drugs. I never took drugs in my life. I don't.
Me either.
So.
Go ahead, Sam.
Please, the fifth.
You don't have to reply.
Well, I was wondering, I wanted to pick your brain because with the philosophical influences, do you have any favorite philosophers, or does that tend to rotate depending on, what's going on in your life?
Well, I grew up with Nietzsche. No, it was because he was against tradition, and he was kind of the philosophy of art. No, he was talking about that kind of creative force, inspiring force. No, like Dionysus. No, like the Greek god. No, that. Dissolves all the structures. So it resonates very strongly with the punk scene, where you try to kill the rules, even though then every scene has a very strong rules, not written rules, but rules. No, but I like when the things. I don't know what I hate power so much, but when things get too much, like a cathedral, too much carved in stone, I start to get nervous. So that probably Nietzsche back in time that wake me up in the sense of things can be changed, things traditions can be decised, and also you need to listen to your inner force, the creative force that like a volcano or like a magma kind of and that moment where things haven't uh, taken shape yet, but they are. And yeah, so I think that's my favorite. Still, it resonates in me. Not the Nietzsche, not the most angry Nietzsche, but the most kind of joyful Nietzsche that tries to achieve the art and but always with humor. Always with humor. Nothing like obscure like the Nazis or something. Always humor. Always skepticism and So yeah.
So it's funny because you mentioned that when you watch great films that are thinking outside the box, it makes you want to pick up a camera and go make a film. And I'm going to draw it all together here. Watch what I'm doing. But they say that first Sex Pistols show in London, that maybe only 25 people showed up to see the band, but every one of them formed a band. And if you look at the photos of the line, you see Susie Sue and you see Billy Idol and you see the guys from the adverts, and you realize that it was quite literally an event in time. And I see if we can get enough eyes on your work, you're going to inspire a lot of people to say, hey, you know what? I have an old DV camcorder. I can make a movie. Imagination is the most important thing. And I think that's one of the most important reasons to get this work a little bit more of a platform in America anyway, is because we need people to feel that same hunger. For myself, as a young man, reading the Shadows anthologies put out these great horror short stories made me want to be a writer. The influence was huge. And I know that was true of an entire generation because I've talked to them. And I do think there's something about the creative spirit. When people talk, I hate when people get upset like, oh, I don't like this type of music or I don't like that type of film. Cool, but don't want it not to exist, because the truth is the good guys are creating what broadly I'll call art, and the bad guys are the ones trying to take the voices away. And it's that simple. Like, let's celebrate the people whose work you hate, because they're still on the right side of the coin when it gets down to it.
I totally agree. I think I grew up with big inspiration for me was where first all the punk from California, and there was this Fat Mike that has Fat
Records,
and he was kind of and you will buy the record because it was Fat Records. Even you don't know the band, you didn't know the band, but you buy it. And then it came Discord and Ian MacKaye and all the Washington DC scene that is even comes before, and Bad Brains and all this. So I think that was a community precisely. What we are talking, that you go to show and it was do it yourself, no? But now it's the word is totally kind of wasted, maybe. But I think people back in time, they really had that philosophy, like it was the underground. You were not waiting for your funding or whatever. You go out there, and some of them, I make a film, and some of them, they make a band. Maybe I inspire people not to make their films, but to make their band or to make the painting, but that kind of vibration of artistic vibration, I think, is very important nowadays. Because imagine if Hitler, people allow him to paint instead of did what he did. I think the art is a very good way of channeling energies, because nobody killed for art. Even if the work of art is very offensive, but still it's a work of art. It has it has its limitations somehow, and even and that's the free speech. Even you feel hurt or whatever, but it's not somebody kicking you in the street, or it's somebody stabbing you. It's can be painful, but it's the way you channel the energies, And I think I wish that kind of underground wave was strong enough to, for the people to, to channel their instincts through it.
And that's kind of one thing I wanted to make sure we talk to you about, which is that your work is now I'm going to say gets away with, but don't take that too serious. It gets away with things that ride the line into what we'd consider politically incorrect today, because it does it with an obvious sense of love and compassion. So even using the word midget in a film is potentially dangerous, but the way it's used in Jesus Shows You the Way to the Highway alleviates all concerns. And I love that because I am not to borrow from Elon Musk for a moment, but I am a free speech absolutist. I think words are not the enemy. I think bad people are the enemy. And I'd rather know who they are. And the way they're going to tell us who they are is by talking. So shut down their voice so we don't know who they are. And I don't like that world.
I think words are always said in a context. So you have to understand. I read recently that some people say the N-word for Black people. But it was, you can say, I know in America also these things are very, strong, and it was saying the N-word. And he was, I was thinking it's in Harvard or something, but he was teaching history. So in the history of, I don't remember, it was a black revolution in Haiti or something, the revolution of slaves in Haiti, and he has to use, and how that reflected in the United States, in the south of it. So he was using that word, and they take him to trial. I mean, to in front of the authorities of the university. But this is like, this is. It's crazy because what I'm trying to is precisely the opposite. I'm trying to explain the history of Afro-American people. So I think words, I think the context defines a little bit the words. That's my babies. I think you can hear the. It's always like
occasionally you'll hear cats screaming here, but that's about it.
I'm the only one that screams in my house.
Whoa.
It's normal.
I think he came from the park, and she wants to play.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
And the mother tried to control her.
But I just think it's really brave that you didn't give a second thought. You just went there and did what you needed to do to tell your story. And you did it in a way that was obviously positive. It wasn't a negative thing anyway. But you know what? Had it been a negative thing, I'd want to hear that voice too, even just to push back on it, right?
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, we all commit mistakes, and some people can feel sometimes offended because our films can be sometimes, controversial, and I think it's good that, I mean, we can say sorry if somebody feel offended in some scene or, so. I mean, it's important to say, okay, I say in this case midget, but with another intention. It was the bad guy who said it to our main character. Actually, even the main character is my friend. I love him. He didn't feel offended, and he's the midget. I can be fat. I don't know. Like, I can be stupid. I don't know. I mean, I'm not feel very offended when somebody tells me something. But if somebody feels offended, I can always say like, I'm sorry or whatever. It's not so. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what's next?
So we are doing a film about transhumanism. What is going to be the future of, again, as I told you before, I had to always to say something that is very important for me or very important for humanity, but then we try to relax that or make it smaller with a sense of humor and everything. But this time it's about the future of human beings. Where are we going? Where are we going? Okay, yeah, you're gonna be on
the future.
on the show.
Oh.
It's alone, no? Right? Or if we put, oh no,
Oh, you're fine.
well, I authorize to be. I'm the father. You don't need the YouTube permission. I give you my authorization to.
We're talking about the future. It's appropriate she's here.
Yes, she's listening about. She's talking about the future, but yes, it's a film that talks about the future. Where are we going with all these technological bio changes? Changes in the bodies, and so it may be linked to, I don't know. Yes, Cronenberg as well with all this stuff. Yeah, but we don't have money for the VFX, so we are kind of taking it easy.
Are you?
We got it, but now we are in the post-production process.
Are you using any crowdfunding services or anything like that people can get involved?
No, this time, not yet.
Keep us in the loop on that if you need it. We'll get the word out.
Thank you so much. Maybe if to finish the last row of VFX or something, because we're running out of money. Yeah, but please.
Awesome.
Serious program. You cannot.
There we go. There's the future.
Even worse. Oh,
he's adorable.
Because he wanted to be part of the program, and now it's like, no. But the problem is that she learned how to press the keyboards, and she kind of stop. She knows how to stop the recordings and all the stuff. So it's like,
well,
it wouldn't matter of time.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the worst thing that's happened on the channel. So,
okay, I hope he didn't boycott the program.
Nah, you're fine. You're fine. So I just want to thank you for coming on. This is always the fastest hour of recording ever. It's amazing. It feels like we just sat down. But I want to thank you for coming on. This has been an absolute joy. We love your movie. We love your work, period. And we want you to stay in touch with this community. Let us know what's next when you're ready to drop anything. Let us know. We'll get the word out. We consider you one of the most important voices out there. So
thank you so much. I'm really happy to come back to the show and and talk with you and share with
anytime. Absolutely anytime. We really appreciate you, taking the time out for us. This is awesome. So, I feel I'm really lucky that we got the chance to do this.
Same for me. I mean, I'm really happy that people take the time for, watching the film and reflect, and because that's what we make the films for. I mean, for the others to share things. So I'm really happy. I'm really happy that this happened. So it will happen again.
Awesome to hear. Thank you. Thank you to everyone out there watching. Go check out this man's work. Have a good one.
Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff.
Oh, Lauren's here. He says, slept through my alarm equals overdosed on laxatives and painkillers, fell asleep on the toilet. Damn you, Lauren. know me so well. I watched like 3 movies from 2021.